everyone? Hey, and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Quee. As you know, on this show, we are interviewing the interesting people in battle rap. We are going back through their battles, through their history, talking about their story, their take on it, and today is no different. Just before we get to today's guest, please follow the show at Battle Rap Resume. If you want the updates, if you want to know what's coming out soon, the best place to do that is on Twitter at Battle Rap Resume. Get in touch with me as well, battlerapresume@gmail.com. If you want to correspond, you know, one of the things that I've been doing recently is my Ask BRR episodes, where I go through, I don't want to call it fan mail, but I guess, you know, correspondence to a certain extent. Some of it's positive, some of it's negative. Check those episodes out. It's free at the time of this recording. I'm going to record the fourth soon. So yeah, if you want me to, if you want to hear my thoughts on anything battle rap or otherwise, get in touch with me there. Comment below as well. Patreon.com/battle rap resume. If you want to help support the show, thank you to everyone that does help support the show. Essentially, it's a preview. It's a pay-per-view. So everything that I do for the show goes on there first. We also have sort of a exclusive feed. If you want to contact me there, you want to know about what shows are coming up, all that sort of stuff. Leave us a review on iTunes. Comment below, subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, all the various things. But yeah, I'm very excited to say that I'm joined by one of the leading female battlers. Bombshell, how's it going?
Hello, it's going all right. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. And just before we went on air, actually, I was looking at your verse tracker, and one of these funny things where the first battle is Bombshell versus Murder Blanco. And I was thinking to myself, this isn't... I was like...
I don't remember that
battle. Yeah. I was like, I don't remember Bombshell battling on Heavy Headshots TV. You know, inevitably, that's happened with a few guests, actually. I think that actually happened, funnily enough, with GEE, because, you know, you have these names that can be quite similar. So, where did the name come from? Was it just a classic inversion on the feminine trope, or...?
I've used it for like way longer than I've been battling. I think I've used it since I was about 19-ish. Because I still do, but I used to do a lot more kind of spoken word stuff when I used to come into London, like Brixton and Hackney quite a lot, and the spoken word in London was a lot more kind of rap based around that time anyway. I won't like say how many years ago it was, because I like my age to remain a myth. Of course. But yeah, it was a while ago. And everyone else was going on stage with these like really cool names, like I don't know, who do we have? A guy called Fenzwan. I used to know quite well. He was pretty cool, and like, yeah, everyone had like sort of rap or kind of what we now think of as like battle type names, and I was just going up as Jen, and I was like, this just looks really crap. So I need a kind of a better sounding, like harder sounding name to go up with. And because I used to travel based in Milton Keynes, grew up around there, and I used to travel like down into London. So some of the open mics, because they get pretty full, you had to kind of let the host know in advance that you were coming down, because otherwise it's a bit crap to kind of travel 2 hours to an open mic and they'd be like, hey, there's no spaces left. So I'd have to let them know that I was coming down. And one time I rang, I think it was actually Fenzwan that I'd rang saying, yeah, I'm going to be coming down tonight, said like who I was, and he was like, oh, the blonde Bombshell. And I was like, that's the one. That's what I'm going to go with, Bombshell. That sounds like a good name. And yeah, I guess because it does have that kind of double meaning. You've got like the sort of classic sort of icons that were bombshells, but then it's also, there's that kind of hardness to that name as well, and the sort of idioms of like dropping a bombshell. So I guess it kind of, that just sort of stuck with me, and I just used it for a long time now. So yeah, that was going to be my battle name as well.
And a natural segue, I suppose, going from the spoken word realms into battle rap. Like, what was the awareness of battle rap? Do you remember the first thing you saw, first thing you heard?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I've listened to rap for a long time. A lot of people sometimes think, oh, you know, you've just sort of come into battle rap from a different angle and you're not being involved in hip hop. I've listened to hip hop for a long time, just not being involved with sort of the crowd as much until maybe about 2 years before I started battling. But I was always kind of performed a lot of crossover stuff, like I've covered Rage Against the Machine and people like that on stage a lot.
Oh, nice. What song did you cover?
I've done a few, because I used to be in a sort of rock and metal kind of covers band. So Killing in the Name, obviously. Of course. Guerrilla Radio.
Nice. I love Rage Against the Machine.
There's about 4 or 5 that we used to do, because that's just how it goes when you're doing kind of covers and stuff.
Is there footage of that? I'd love to see that.
There probably is somewhere. It's probably like some old kind of Liverpool Community College kind of footage of it somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure it's out there.
Right.
And I've been into like groups like 1 Minute Silence as well. In fact, it was 1 Minute Silence that got me into spoken word. So it's kind of actually the other way around for me. I'd kind of been following what they did. I don't know if you've ever heard of 1 Minute Silence.
I haven't actually, no.
I've got 2 of them on my Facebook, which is also weird now.
Right.
But yeah, they were a kind of sort of very mixed genre group in the UK, sort of rock, metal, rap, sort of UK kind of Rage Against the Machine, but probably with a bit more of a industrial metal influence. But I'd been a big fan of them for like years and years and years. And their lead singer started doing spoken word, and I went down to some of the stuff that he did, and that's when I started doing poetry. So it's kind of come back on itself. But yeah, I started like it's quite funny. I started like dating this guy back in, it was the end of 2011, and he was really into battle rap. I hadn't started by watching any stuff with him. It was just normal Netflix and chill, and then it became battle rap and chill. But yeah, he was like wanted, like early on in the relationship, he was like wanted to go to, I guess it was a Dope Flop event over in Manchester, and this was 2011, so this is before things started to really kind of take off, because it's about 2012, 2013 when things just kind of blew up.
Yeah, sort of post-grist.
Yeah, so he was like, yeah, I want to go to this thing, like, I don't know if you'll be into it. It's like, it's battle rap. So I was like, guys talking about each other's mums and like swearing at each other. He was like, yeah, and I was like, that sounds great, let's go. Yeah, and then I was like, this is pretty cool. I bet I could do something like this. And I kind of got more involved in, because I like putting events on and stuff. And Liverpool, I was living in Liverpool, I lived in Liverpool for a long time, and people like Rikky Riley and O'Shea were kind of at the same house parties that I was going to and stuff, so there was a lot of sort of crossover, the social network.
I can only imagine the sort of house parties that O'Shea went to. Jesus.
We're talking about sort of 2-3 day house parties. One of the houses that I lived in, like we had my mate's birthday party. We had a DJ with decks and everything in the front room. Our neighbours must have hated us. It went on for like 3 or 4 days, like that kind of thing. But yeah, I started hosting a few kind of hip hop events, just like because I felt like it in Liverpool. And yeah, eventually Rikky Riley knew that I wanted to get into battling. He was like, come do the event. Can you do this thing in 3 weeks' time? And I was like, can I battle in 3 weeks' time? And I was like, sure, why not? And I thought he was going to give me a complete newbie, because that's normally how debuts work, right? And no, he gave me Sprungy, and I was like, oh fuck. And then I was like, yeah, okay, why not? Sure, yeah, I'll do that. And so I started. and
Battling Demons, it's a fundraiser for the Depression Alliance, and fair to say it's a far cry from Fourth Birthday, isn't it? It's kind of in a corner of a mic.
Yeah, it was. Well, that was a pretty cool venue called Drop the Dumbbells, which has had sort of several incarnations in Liverpool across the years. So that was kind of pretty much the same crowd there that used to be at the house party. Right. So you've got a mixture of people that are probably battle rap fans. There was at least one guy there I remember wearing a High Focus t-shirt, because I kind of went in going, oh shit, there's going to be nobody here into hip hop. But they're going to wonder what the fuck this is. And I was like, High Focus t-shirt, excellent. At least one person here is going to appreciate it. Sure. And then sort of, standard vegan feminist crew as well, which is why Sprungy complains about that battle sometimes, because he's like, the audience were against me. I'm like, I think it might have been your drug consumption that was against you, Sprungy, but hey, okay, we'll go for a balanced view here.
you're rocking the Rap Battles Ruin My Life tee, sort of ripped up as well. It's nice variation.
Yeah, well, they were massive. They're just like any sort of t-shirts that people kind of have. They just tend to come in like XXL size, and yeah, they were too big for me back then. It probably fit me fine now, because I've put on like 2 stone since that battle. So, but yeah, back then I was like, this looks like a flag on me. It's huge. So yeah, I went for the punk rock kind of ripped up t-shirt look.
And one of the rare battles in the world that has subtitles.
Yes, mostly. Well, I think if you watch it, you can see why.
It's very boomy, I should say, for the listeners. And someone very fastidiously did these subtitles. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, because I have no idea what would come out if they actually put the auto subtitles on.
Yeah,
I'm
oh
sure
my
it
god,
wouldn't
with
make
Sprungy,
any,
I'm sure. Yeah,
wouldn't make any sense. But yeah.
And writing for this, then, like, what was the process? Was it? I guess it must have been exciting to have an opponent finally to do this thing, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was kind of a mixture of watching people's battles whose style that I knew I liked. I like watching people like Definition, the people that really kind of quite sort of aggressive, but like, you know, they're not aggressive in the sense that they're necessarily going to punch you on the stage, but they're kind of quite in your face and get in your head, that kind of battler. I watched a few like that. Obviously I watched some of Sprungy's old battles. I kind of already knew him like on the scene a little bit as well, so it wasn't like I was battling somebody who I'd never met before. You know, we'd been on the same coach journeys down to battle events in London and stuff, so it was somebody who I had a bit of an insight into. I think my main thing was just I was just really determined not to choke.
Yep.
And I write a lot. I'm very, as you probably noticed, I'm very verbose.
Sure.
And so I was like, I'm going to remember all this stuff. So I think I'd probably finished writing it a good 10 days before the actual battle. And then I was just determined that I would remember all of it. Like, never mind actually winning. I was just like, I don't want to choke. Choking's the worst thing ever. Oh. I'm just going to make sure it's all in my head.
Yeah. Tell me about it, please, listeners. Don't watch me versus Briggsy. I know you're curious. You don't need to see it. You were obviously you were there. And,
I was there. Yeah, that was very funny. And you gamely kind of you did carry on and stuff as well.
Yeah,
so
I suppose. It's flattery. Let's get back to Sprungy.
Let's definitely get back to Sprungy.
I need to get Sprungy on the show. Every time we cover Sprungy, I'm just like, what a interesting maelstrom this guy is. Kind of like a sort of alternative universe O'Shea, you know what I mean, if it sort of didn't quite go as right in the most captivating way. You talk in the first about how he would drink his own semen if it had high enough alcohol content.
And that's probably true, right?
Yeah. Facts, real.
Also, never ever go drinking with Sprungy. It's lethal. Jesus. I went I don't even drink anymore, and not because of that, but you know, that should have been enough really. But before I battled Pete Cashmore, we all went out drinking, and that was before like a 4-hour coach ride to South Shields, and oh god, horrible idea.
You talk about deactivating your donor cards. You don't have to give them a liver at the end of your first. Like, I think all in all, it's a really good battle from you. Obviously, Sprungy's a bit of a train wreck in the way that he always is. But looking back, how do you feel about the performance?
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. For obviously, I've definitely seen much worse tryouts. I mean, it was quite visceral. I like to kind of, certainly in my first few battles, I had this weird idea where I was determined to try and make somebody feel sick because I was that gory. I don't know why. I was kind of, I suppose it's because I kind of grew up on like listening to horrorcore and stuff like that. I was like, I wanted it to be like the sort of Evil Dead equivalent of, battle rap, basically.
Okay. And, again, you're second as well. You go in on Sprungy's perceived xenophobia. He thinks foreign beggars is a Daily Mail catchphrase, which is really nice. And again, it is a slight shame that the audio was off, but, we do have these subtitles, so it's not all bad. Sprungy just, he sort of admits in the third that he's lost, sort of thing. And you say quite nicely in the third, he looks like he ate Wigan, which I really like. And then he sort of tries to do a flip, talking about Roberto Martinez, who was the Wigan manager at the time, which made me realise how long ago this battle was. I was like, fucking, I'm not even like a massive football guy, but I just kind of, crazy that this passed. And it's there's almost a glory to how he fucks up, isn't there, Sprungy?
Yeah. I mean, he's always kind of fun to watch, and certainly he was a fun opponent. So I think that was a good opponent to have first, because I think kind of one of the sort of things we've lost a little bit, I feel, over the years, is that the bigger battle rap has grown, the more seriously people take it, and that can take a bit of the fun out of it. And I think when you've got an opponent that kind of makes it really fun and like an enjoyable experience for both themselves and you as their opponent and as anybody else kind of participating in that experience, I think that is, I think that kind of, that's something we kind of need to see a bit more of again these days.
And you embrace at the end. You know, it's nice. Rikky Riley's in the background of the whole thing as well. Really enjoying your stuff, and it's slightly less...
watching Rikky's reactions is the most fun in that battle. It's great.
And did you have the bug from that battle? Did you want to keep going?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm sure you've heard probably other people say this. It is a weirdly addictive thing to do, and you do kind of go through periods of time where you think, have I maybe done enough now? And then you just start feeling the bug again. You think, no, I know I need to do more. So yeah, definitely from that moment, I was like, yep, give me 10 more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had a very, as with a lot of people that we've spoke to on the show, you know, the first year or two is incredibly busy. I think in particular 2013 for you. You know, you did a hell of a lot of battles there. So we had the Sprungy battle uploaded in November 2012 at least. So you know, quite a while ago. It's just mad, isn't it? Like, you remember watching battles this time, how quickly time has passed. And one of the relics from that past Bombshell is Barmageddon Battle League in Deer, Wolverhampton.
Yes, and that's. I would have liked to have been to more of those events, because I think I only went to maybe. I think that was the only one I went to. I'm not sure. I feel like I went to more, but I think it's just because there were several kind of intersecting leagues around that time. Barmageddon was fun. It was definitely a nice atmosphere.
Run spawn who looks like a forlorn potato at the bottom of a vegetable pile. You are Sprungy's lesser-known sidekick. You barely measure up to a guy who's had to force himself to quit. When you played the Chasm Weir with Phil, Philly Wiz didn't even have your name down on the bill. Dizzy from Ugly Duckling couldn't remember your name, he just referred to you as the Bin Man. That's your claim to fame. So don't get this shit twisted like the tops of those garbage bags you've lifted. You're less hip-hop than Limp Bizkit.
I think that one was the Christmas one as well, I believe, or sort of a Christmas one.
Yeah, where Cashmore and Pamphlet battled, right?
That's right, yeah.
And I mean, Pamphlet's in the background of this one. There's a few people in the background of this one. You see a very young bard in the background of this one as well.
Yes, so in fact, that's the event where I first met Bard, who's obviously, you know, a good friend of mine through Battle Rap as well, and who sadly is one of my missing battles. I've got a few battles that have somehow, God knows what's happened to the SD cards, but that was a classic battle that doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I did Battle Bard a couple of years ago on Ronalds. And that doesn't exist on video anymore. Sadness.
Yeah, that is. I often say, like, you know, that's sort of the King of the Ronalds baptism. You have to sort of lose a few battles on the league
it's just
to be part of it. Which is such a shame because, like, you know, recently lots of Crafty versus Lazy Ass Jack was lost, and I think Sherpa versus not Visceral. Who did he battle? Sherpa, Deafening. I think they had a great battle. Apparently, they got lost as well.
I think there's some kind of weird curse that's been placed on this league. Maybe it's like Rowan's just done some weird voodoo on the SD cards. There's like an SD card with little voodoo pins in it or something.
Yeah. It's got like STD. I don't know. There's some sort of pun there, Battle Rappers. We can work it out. But you battled Average Keith.
I did, yeah.
You know, he's a good throwback, isn't he, in style, Average Keith? Like, he has a lot of lines in this battle, not incredible lines, and it's very, I shagged you, you're ugly woman, blah, blah, blah. But, it's very lunacy, to put a fine point on it. And he's kind of that ilk, isn't he, Average Keith, from that time. Like, he couldn't come back and battle unchalked out, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's very much the kind of style that was around at that kind of time, and it's weird to think that Battle Rap has evolved since then as well. Because I still quite like some of that kind of stuff at that time. It's like it's kind of got a bit too clever for its own good. And it's like, can we just go back to 3 rounds of mum jokes? Come on, like there's still a skill in being able to come up with a mum joke that no one else has ever done before.
That's true.
Because that's the whole thing. Like, yes, people have done mum jokes before, but you've got to come up with something that no one has ever said about someone else's mum before that's still funny and still articulate. So I feel like we've kind of lost that a little bit as well. So
you come a bit more intelligent in the first. He's middle of the road. He's going to get run down like Tiananmen, which doesn't really get a reaction, which is really, really nice. You also mentioned that he used to be a bin man, and he has quite a funny flip at the start of the second. You took the piss out of me for being an ex-bin man. How ironic, as at some point you have been a man. Which, not clever, but it works in that room.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it was a good back and forth for that one.
And like, you know, again, I don't want to sound gauche or anything like this, but obviously it's quite unique. A female battler. You know, was that something you considered when you were battling? I mean, it must be even subconsciously, right? Because writers can write things that they can't write for 99% of their opponents suddenly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you're sort of aware of because I mean, obviously it's the same if it comes to me battling another woman, because I battled 4 women now, which is probably the most anyone's done in the UK. Obviously, like in the US, you've got like Queen of the Ring, so you've got girls battling girls all the time, but I can't think of anyone else that's battled that many females. So yeah, and then you kind of go, yes, I've got something different I can write about somebody. And I think there's a delight that you see. I know we're mentioning me versus Loxy later, in the fact that you can both just be really disgusting about women's genitals and you both just kind of competing to say the worst possible thing, because you're kind of, there's sort of layers upon layers of kind of taboos that you're breaking there, because of course you've got like the whole thing that, you know, sort of the taboo of saying stuff like that to a woman in the first place, and then you've got a woman saying that to another woman. So yeah, there's those kind of angles that you can kind of get into with it. And then also, and I think as you get more established as well, it becomes a challenge both for you to kind of make sure you're coming up with more rebuttals for stuff, because people are having to come up with new stuff, because they can't just be like, oh, you're a woman and you're gross, and they've got to be able to come up with something better than that, because you've already had 15 other people say that. So yeah.
And Average Keith, just on his verse tracker now, had battled a woman before you. I haven't seen this battle. Royal Flyness.
Yes. Yeah.
How is that? Have you seen that?
I think she had some good writtens. I think you'll have to watch it.
Okay. When I do that Average Keith episode, I think we'll go through it.
Yeah. I think I'll just not comment on it for
wow,
now.
Okay. Need to get this.
Yeah, she's somebody who was sort of tried to set up a battle with me about 3 times and like let me down 3 times. And I think one of the times she wanted us to both. She was based somewhere in the south, and I was living in Liverpool at the time. And like one of the last times she tried to set something up, she's like wanted us both to battle in South Shields, but wanted me to do the whole setting up of things. This is when there was still I'm going to forget what they're called. Get Slated was still running. Yeah. And I was like, but if you can't even manage to get up to Liverpool or to Wolverhampton to battle me, why do you think I'm going to arrange a battle all the way up in South Shields, which is hard for me to get to, never mind for you to get to? It's just like, no.
Okay.
No.
Royal Flyness, yeah. No, that doesn't make it. And on his verse track as well, this is the Average Keith loving at the moment, but I didn't realise he had a Don't Flop tryout. He battled Blunt Frank on what looks like from the thumbnail the Leeds event, where Pamphlet battled Matter and Lunacy battled Mickey. Now, I was thinking this during the notes, Bombshell. Why did we never see you on Don't Flop?
Right. I guess this is something I've not talked about publicly before. Okay. So yeah, I've always had a bit of a weird relationship with Don't Flop, and I suppose that's something we can talk about now that the king is dead. I've actually turned them down twice. I turned them down once pretty early on, when I think I'd literally only done, I'd just done the Sprungy and the Average Keith battles, because I kind of wanted a way to sort of really up my game before I got onto that platform. And Rowan had said, you know, I'm waiting for your application, because I had spoken to Rowan face to face a couple of times before that, so he knew that I had started battling. And I was like, I didn't feel kind of ready. I was like, not in the sense that I wasn't confident, but in the sense that I really wanted something to be really good before it got to that number of views. And then over the years, I seem to have been friends with more and more kind of Don't Flop pariahs. I just seem to, before I even kind of got involved in battling, there are certain people in the Northwest hip hop scene that never liked her, and I didn't get it to start with. There's a lot of people just like, oh wow, a lot of people really hate this guy. But now, okay, you're allowed to hate her because now everybody hates him, so it's fine. But I think from early on, I was kind of associated with those people, so it was always a little bit like, oh, you friends with the people that don't like us? How dare you?
Yeah.
And the second time I got asked to do it, it was Callum Martin that asked me, but he asked me when I was right in the middle of doing my master's thesis, which is not only a huge amount of work, but it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, like this is the worst time to ask me. Can you ask me like later in the year or something? So yeah, it's kind of weird. I've turned them down twice, but I think there's also been times when they've kind of not been so keen on me because I was friends with people that weren't getting on, and now they're gone. So that's gone. So yeah, weird.
And I mean, talking about people who don't like you battled Chronicle next, or that was in the next, one of the ones you battled soon after. Now,
yeah, I think he was the fourth person I battled, maybe.
Yes. I think we've unfairly skipped over Jeffers, but unfortunately there has to be some casualties when we go through back catalogues.
Yeah, I'm sure people can look that one up. It's got a fair amount of views, that one.
Yeah, it's got 1,300 views, which isn't bad actually.
I
mean, we should say altogether 35,000 views on Verse Tracker, but as we said just before we went on there, not every battle of yours is necessarily on there, as is the case with a hell of a lot of people. But I was surprised that you battled Chronicle. I shared this on the Battle Rap Resume Twitter recently, like battles you didn't realise happened. And at this point, this is like your fourth battle. Chronicle, say what you like about the guy, he was a bit of a beast, really. He had a lot of battles, a lot of experience.
And your eyes look like Zayn Azrai's dad's Jap's eye after infinity docking a pork pie. I'm going to knacker your horse carcass and send it packing back to Birdseye. Oh. When you were Earth's bitch, you were basically just the manager of a franchise. Oh, hey. It's like having team leader on your badge but still serving curly fries. Now, I'm not chatting breeze. He told me to go easy. I may still be a newbie, but I know that's not how it works, so I'm going to murk this melted waxwork.
Well, again, that was one of the other sort of weird things. I think, kind of from what I remember at the time, it was the time that sort of Chronicle was splitting off from
Sure.
And so obviously Chronicle had been running the Don't Flop North stuff, and he'd been doing Blam for a good sort of year and a half at that point. And so I think he was starting to kind of peel away the Blam stuff to try and make that kind of his thing, separate from Don't Flop. So he'd... so which was the league? Was it Wrapped in Wire? That's it. So Wrapped in Wire had been doing quite a lot of events in like Wigan and stuff, which is where that battle was occurring. That, as I said, it's kind of a little bit like sort of... what's it called? Peter Kay thing.
What? Phoenix Nights?
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you knew what I meant. Yeah.
Sort of working men's clubs.
It was kind of like Phoenix Nights with battle rap. It was really bizarre. There was one occasion, I don't think it was them, it was another league that was around for a little bit. We actually had one in like above some sort of like old people's like bingo hall thing, and also Shotty Horror was there, and it was like the most surreal thing. I was like, did you guys kidnap Shotty? Like, how is he here? This is so bizarre. There were a lot of bizarre things that happened in like the little kind of tiny leagues that were all trying to run stuff around like the Northwest. But yeah, back to that one. I told you I ramble. You have to just steer me back on track, or just edit it out. They'd started up some kind of competition. So yeah, it was kind of like early on, I was like, oh fuck it, why not? So he was like my first opponent in the competition, which is kind of shit because you're like, well, I'm probably just going to die in the first session. But why not? So yeah, and again, because I did kind of know Chronicle, we had already been sort of hanging out and talking and stuff. Sure. Which is why some of the personals from both of us are true, or there's an element of truth to them. I mean, I don't know quite why he entered, but I think it was his way of trying to get a bit of an idea of what was going on with the newer battlers in the scene at the time, so he could kind of pinch a few before they went off to Don't Flop. So yeah, that's my theory anyway.
And at the start of the battle, there's some text on screen. It says, "Our apologies for the footage as the cameraman was inexperienced." And
by inexperienced, they mean inebriated. That was Brockside, and we still rip him for it. Yeah,
because when I was first watching it, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just a sort of static angle. But then the third round, it's literally your knees. Like the camera's so low.
He sits down.
Right.
Yeah, if you're gonna pay a Glaswegian in alcohol to film something, pay them afterwards. Not during the process of them filming. So yeah, he literally just went, oh, a bit drunk, I'll sit down.
And how did it feel? You know, you faced a few opponents by this point, but not someone quite as seasoned as Chronicle. And, you know, he goes in. He doesn't slack. Like, he gets quite angry, quite in your face. He has some nice mulches at the start, like a witch in the park looking for alien spaceships. Jen is a urine sample blatantly taking the piss. Like, you know, okay, it's not incredible stuff, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think again that was just fun to write for. I mean, I don't get particularly sort of anxious or anything like that on stage. I like being there. That's kind of my little space that I like being in. So it's nice to have an opponent who's just as kind of got the same sort of dynamic as you, because then it kind of feels more like a sort of a dialogue. And again, because I already knew some stuff. In fact, I don't know that I didn't quite use everything I could possibly have used against him. Maybe I should have done, I don't know. But yeah, I knew some stuff, and I used some stuff against him, so yeah.
Yeah, you talk about him pussying out against Bleak. You know, you also mentioned that you used to fancy him, but when you got to know him, you found out he was a cunt. And like his reaction to that is quite genuine. I think actually hurt his feelings somehow. Yeah, it looks like you do. It looks like you do. You say,
like what?
you say something which is quite a sort of... I didn't quite know what you meant, although you can sort of surmise. You say, Shotty's brother still has your hat?
Yeah, there was a thing where he got into a fight with Shotty Horror's brother, or Shotty Horror's brother stole his hat. And what was quite funny is later... Like only about 2 months later, I performed at something Briggsy was running in Manchester, and some guy came up to me and was like, yeah, by the way, I'm Shotty Horror's brother. You mentioned me in your Chronicle battle. And I was like, cool. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I think Shotty's brother's in the Arsenal battle. I think he's sort of back in his corner, and he's got the old school Man City shirt. I believe that's him, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll do this on a future Mastermind episode or something like that. You know, some pointless battle rap trivia. But it's you talk about him being on Chronicle, being on the BBC Three as well. Was that the Eddie P and Frisco thing, or was that something else?
No, he was on something that was called, I think it was called like Safe Sex in the City or something.
Right.
Where it was him and what's the guy's name? Is it Eek?
Okay.
The guy that's got like his little mate who was in a few battles. And
I don't think it was Eek. I don't know if Chronicle and Eek were that pally. I don't think they weren't, but I don't know if they were like affiliated.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay, Chronicle and Eek.
I don't know. Look it up. It was like BBC Three thing. But yeah, they. I don't know whether he thought this was just some interesting angle to kind of promote battle rap or something, but yeah, they won this thing where they were getting tested for STDs and like, you know, filming the reaction to see what what came back for them and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that was what he was on. Okay.
Unsafe Sex in the City. Yeah, there's just one webpage on the BBC Three website which isn't really leading anywhere. But if anyone listening has clips of Chronicle and possibly Eek in that show, please let me know. I need to see that. But yeah, you know, again, a good battle from you, and you know, 6 months in or so, getting a lot of experience. How are you feeling going forward? Because you clearly were getting a bit more comfortable on the stage. Your construction was sharper, etc.
Yeah, I think I already had a few books kind of quite far ahead at that point. Again, the scene in the Northwest was pretty lively at that point.
Yeah,
with
I remember it being that, yeah.
There were a lot of little leagues, like, kind of doing stuff pretty frequently. So I think because, you know, for people that weren't experienced enough or didn't have the kind of connections to get onto Don't Flop, people needed a way to, you know, to kind of exercise and kind of hone their talents before kind of aiming for that. So, and it's one of the things I kind of like about the Northwest is people can just start gigs from literally from scratch. You know, there's plenty of pubs that will kind of host something just because it'll, you know, have people buying beer. So I knew at that point I had Tanita lined up. She was the first girl that I battled,
right.
And that was at Blam, and this was Blam minus the Don't Flop affiliation.
Sure.
So that was already happening at that point. Chronicle had already set that up. So yeah, I was battling him knowing that I was going to be battling at one of his events later. Yeah, what else did we have going on at that time? Yeah, I had a few things lined up, so I already knew that kind of whichever way the battle went, there were kind of more to come.
You battled GEE on Bowski's League as well?
Yeah.
In Lancaster?
Yeah.
Which,
that was...
rowdy crowd, a decent crowd, but unfortunately a little talkative.
Yeah, they weren't really a battle rap crowd,
No.
but, you know, they were obviously a crowd of people that were, you know, up for, you know, being entertained.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was... Again, it was kind of like a pit battle, but literally one where they didn't have to ask people to kind of squidge in to make it look like there was more people. Sorry to kind of spoil the effects for all the camera guys, for anybody who's not been at an event where we've done that. But yeah, if you get like a sort of a pit battle and there's not really enough people for it to look like a really big crowd, everyone just squeezes in. This is one where we had to actually ask people to stand back because it was so full that literally the cameras were under our faces more than in our faces. But that was a weird one because I travelled with GEE and stayed in the same room as him for like the event and stuff. And have you met GEE in person?
I have actually. I have met him at Cypher Lounge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's probably a bit more chilled now than he was when he was a bit younger, but he is like travelling with a sort of badly behaved toddler.
Sure.
And so we were travelling from Liverpool together, and like he was, well, I think he was on the Wirral at the time, so I was kind of like meeting him at Lime Street Station, and I got this text from him. I was saying like, where are you? I'm just about to arrive. And he was like, yeah, I'm outside, I'm just drying out. And I was like, do you mean drying out? Because it was like bright sunny day, you know. I was like, what do you mean? What have you done? And I turn up at Lime Street Station, which has these great big kind of wide steps on the front. Yeah. And he's like this little washer lady with like all his clothes laid out in the sunshine to dry because he put a couple of cans in his bag and they just exploded. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a great start to the journey. I'm battling you later today. This is going to go great. So yeah, that was an adventure.
He mentions you and his boy Jace.
Yeah,
and a BlackBerry.
Jakes. Yeah.
Sorry, Jakes.
Ah, bless little Jakes. Yeah. I don't even know where to start with that one. Yeah, where do I start with that one?
We don't need to start at all. We don't need to start at all. If
fine.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, no, I guess because nobody will know who that is anymore. It doesn't even matter really.
It's just sort of, yeah, it's mentioning the battle towards the end.
At the time, it might have been interesting, but now it's just
a name lost to history, like Average Keith, or
let's just say it was a little bit of he did a bit of a Jefferson Price.
Oh right.
Round about that time, or a month or two later. So
okay. But cool to see. Bowski did a little event here. I don't know did he do any more, or was this the only one he did?
I think he did a couple. I mean, obviously he helps run a lot of the Ronalds stuff now. So yeah, I don't know at what point he kind of crossed over from doing his own stuff to kind of helping out with Ronalds things. But yeah.
And again, like Chronicle, there's loads of battles in your resume that I'm just like, this battle happened. You battled P Soldier.
I did, yeah.
On Stand Tall.
And P Soldier gets so wound up every time I mention it that I just can't help but mention it more, even though he's thoroughly sick of it.
What? Give me some cliff notes. How did it go?
Yeah, it for me it went like way better than I expected. It was one of those weird ones that I kind of, there's a few battles like the G-Dub one that I kind of prepped for fairly last minute because at the time I was pretty busy, like literally to the point where, I think I only wrote that one about sort of 3 days before we actually battled. At least, like everybody's got their own kind of process, but I kind of brainstorm a lot of stuff and I have lots of bits here and there, but then at some point I kind of knuckle down and kind of glue it all together with battle glue to make it into a proper thing. And that only happened a couple of days before the actual battle. So, but I think something to do with that kind of slight, not apathy, but just like, oh, I'll just stick some stuff in that's funny, somehow really worked with writing that battle, because it kind of just, a lot of the funny stuff just really worked, and it wasn't too kind of abstract or too much of a thinker, which I know I can sometimes be, because there'll be stuff that I think is really funny, and then it actually needs somebody to kind of listen to it 4 times before they get it. And I'm like, oh, which, it needs to be funny on the first listen if you're writing battle bars, right? Yeah. So, yeah, but a lot of that stuff, and I knew that I'd pretty much killed it fairly early on in that battle, because there were people that were kind of from the office and stuff that were meant to be like his guys were like high-fiving me and stuff. And
right.
I was like, oh, yeah, he's dead.
So you beat P Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I need to see this battle. This is again.
It's a good battle. It's still it's still, I feel like, one of my best battles. Certainly in terms of like delivery and jokes and stuff. Yeah.
And you battled on Stand Tall fairly often. You battled someone called Your Platform. What a name.
Yeah, he's actually a pretty good friend of mine now. Right. Yeah. Like he did quite a few battles like around the time, because he was living in Leeds at the time, and again they were pretty active, and I know they kind of started doing a few events again. I think they've got one coming up in a few weeks. That one was it was like a Halloween concept battle, so I really enjoyed writing that, because by that point I'd done a lot of battles and it was getting a bit like, okay, sure. Another person, I'll say some stuff about how your penis is small. Yeah. But because it was for a Halloween event and it was for it was a charity one for Oxjam, I was like, hey, let's do a concept battle, because I want to do that. And so that kind of reinvigorated the sort of fun of writing. It was one of my kind of most fun battles to do, I think, even though it's only got about 700 views or something. Yeah,
348, I'm sorry to
oh, is it really? See, yeah. I enjoyed it so much, I've inflated the numbers greatly in my head. It deserves way more views than that. It's pretty funny. I mean, the bit, have you seen it? Have you watched it?
I haven't seen it. The name just captivated me.
Okay, I won't spoil it, but there's a thing that he did at the beginning with a guy who I'm also friends with now from that kind of sort of party scene of people over in Leeds. That's pretty funny, that felt like an entire round and was apparently only about like 20 seconds, but I was just like, you arsehole, because now there's a song that I can't hear in the same way ever again, and it's all Rob's fault, but it's all right because we're really good mates now, so it's fine.
And you battled the beloved Pete Cashmore.
Yes,
Get
the
Slated.
Legend.
I mean,
the actual
icon,
legend.
Genuine icon. Love having Pete on the show. A genuine great friend of Battle Rap Resume. How did this go down?
That was another odd one, because how personal can I be? Yeah, so we were kind of dating.
Sure.
That week.
Okay.
And that's the day before I'd been out drinking with him and Sprungy, so it was kind of a weird week, because I went to sort of see him for a few days that week, and we were kind of like trying to like surreptitiously write and learn stuff at the same time as going for lunch together.
Right.
It's like not the best way to try and prep for a battle. But I think I probably wrote stuff that was too personal, because the crowd just didn't understand what I was saying at all. Whereas I think he judged it just right for that crowd, because he did a whole kind of football scheme and stuff, which I won't get because I don't follow football, sure. But apparently was good. Okay. So, yeah.
And another one of those leagues, as you're saying, this sort of confluence of these Northwest leagues, Get Slated again. R.I.P.
Yeah, well, they're northeast, obviously, because they're South Shields. So
right. But I mean, North general blanket
North,
sort of term.
The North.
Yeah. Non don't flop. Of this era. And talking of non don't flop, the King of the Ronalds debut against Big J.
You were just disappointed that you didn't get the pamphlet. Who would have hired you with some second-hand hand flips. Because your bars were out of date in 2008 before you could even fucking spit. So at the end of the day, Jay, fuck respect, you're still a bitch.
Yeah.
It had to happen, right? How did you get involved with the league? Had you been watching much prior, or?
I'd watched a few, and I'd spoken to Mickey. I think actually at that event, the event where I battled Pete Cashmore, I guess, because Mickey was sort of doing his own bit of scouting or networking or something, sure. You know, outside of the sort of don't flop arena. And I'd been in touch with Rikky for a while. I can't even remember how that kind of started up, but I'd been kind of talking to him a bit. Yeah, and I can't actually remember even how we decided to kind of set it up, but I think it was because I'd recently moved back down to Milton Keynes at that time, so I was like able to kind of travel into London a bit easier. So yeah, he set me up versus Big J, which almost didn't happen because I think Rowan threw a bit of a tantrum and tried to kind of have some sort of ownership over battlers not battling in don't flop places. So yeah, that was a bit weird.
And this is Punk in Drublic. And
Punk in Drublic.
A good opponent for you, Big J. Big name.
Yeah. Yes, I knew it was going to be a bigger arena, and I honestly didn't think I was going to win that one either, because, you know, with Ronalds it's a crowd vote. Yeah, and I'd only brought like 3 people I knew with me, so I was like, well, I've got 3 votes. But I really didn't think they were going to cheer for me. I thought they're obviously going to cheer for Jay. So I was pretty surprised when I won that one.
Lots of editing in this battle. Whimming a shit at everything comes across the screen, rolling.
Yeah, Mickey decided to have some kind of editing and stuff as part of the style with Ronalds at that time, which is eventually just kind of, they've stopped doing that, I guess, because it's a lot of work on top of just editing the battles as it is. But yeah.
A unique thing they had. I think Pigman Dan did a lot of it. I remember, you know, there's so many that are so good. Blunthead and JJC4, it has a Metal Gear Solid theme. I think Mickey versus Max Sherry has like a Lost theme, and you know, really, really clever, genius stuff. And good stuff from you as well here. A lot of sophisticated writing about how, you know, perceived homophobia, more gay in his mouth than a grinder addict, grinding dicks on a long weekend in the Philippines, filling teens in tight dreams, spinning ice cream with Vice Queens. It's a long sequence.
Yeah, I think at that point I was sort of trying to be more, because I used to be quite, I mean, until like really, really recently, I was pretty unstructured with my writing, and it's not like I don't know how to construct a multi, it's just that I don't know, I'm just not very good with rules and structure. Right. And it's only relatively recently that I've got a mentor who I should probably mention at some point, not a battle rap mentor, but he's like a hip-hop mentor that's kind of talks at me in a teacher voice if I start to kind of go off track a bit. So I think I'm sort of trying to show more that I do know what I'm doing. I'm just crap with following sort of 16 bar structure. Just kind of wander off with my attention and go, yeah, I'm just going to leave it hanging with like an odd number of rhymes. You know, it's like it's going to have 3 rhymes for this bit and 17 rhymes for this one. Fuck you. So yeah, but that kind of, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, because they kind of, you lose where your actual punches are, and you do need to have that rhythm for the punches to land in the right place and for people to kind of follow what you're doing, especially after they've had like 10 beers or something. So yeah.
And talking of delicate writing arrangements, we have Big J, and it's a lot of "you look like" a skinny white chick from the Vicar of Dibley. He offers Rodney from Only. That's quite a good one.
Yeah,
I thought that one was quite perceptive, actually.
Yeah, he also said beforehand, he was like, oh yeah, he was trying to remember her name, and I was like, he was like, somebody also said that comedian, and I was like, Sarah Millican, and he was like, yes. And I was like, see, I knew who I looked like.
Yeah, Rodney from Only Fools and Horses with a wig on. I mean, you know, it's and then in the second, Nicholas Lyndhurst's face is effectively plastered over yours. Yeah,
that's more Pigman Dan, sort of adding to the multimedia effect.
And yeah, you know, it's a funny battle. You know, it's almost got 10,000 views. The crowd are lively, and you know, you both have great moments, and you win. You know, you get the reaction from the crowd, and you beat Big J.
Yes, that's a thing that happened. Yeah.
I mean, you've taken some bodies at this point. You had Big J, you had P Soldier. Okay, you know, maybe I hadn't beat Average Keith, but there's always going to be anomalies there. You know, with King of the Ronalds, did you feel you found a home here to a certain extent? Because you would battle pretty much not exclusively on there, but mostly on there.
I mean, it's partly a sort of logistical thing, but yeah, I'd moved down to Milton Keynes, and then a couple of months later to London at that point to do my masters. So like traveling anywhere else was just not going to happen on a budget, but I wanted to kind of keep up battling, and also because you know, they are a fun group of people. It is always like an event, and you've got that kind of weird mixture of people who are, you know, really into the sort of actual nerdiness, you know, like really nerdy about battling, but at the same time, like really know their hip hop, and you've got this really interesting mixture of people kind of coming together. So yeah, it's definitely been like a good place to kind of be for a long time.
Yeah, it's an interesting niche, isn't it? That, I mean, most people don't know what the fuck it is and don't tend to care, but those within it, there's so much knowledge and there's so much interesting things, like regardless of how barbaric and chaotic it can be, it's just a wonderful little pocket, isn't it, of people?
Yeah, and I think Mickey sometimes describes Ronalds as like the kind of punk group, which I think is really accurate. I think that is a good way to describe it. Like Ronalds are the sort of the punks of of the kind of battle rap scene.
And the next battle we're going to get to is regrettably the only Bombshell battle that I've actually seen in person. You versus Max Sherry, which I think it was called Rise of the Foot Soldier, the event in Acton, if I believe correctly. This was personally my second battle, Soliloquy. I battled Murta there. There was about 5 people there. There was no one there. It was a terrible battle. You know, I'm sure people have seen it if they're interested in it. But you know, it was a fun day. I met loads of people for the first time there, and I mean, what is there to say about this battle? You know, you can see me in the background, I should say, near Bard as well, because I mean, it's Mickey Worthless versus a rap battle, isn't it? Rather than you versus Max Sherry.
Yeah, it's accurate, and it's just one of those things that you kind of. You sort of you prep yourself as much as you can for all the things that can happen in a battle, and then that also happens, and you're like, what is even happening? What am I doing? Why am I doing this on a Saturday afternoon? This is so bizarre. Especially as I had at least one person I brought down that had never been to a battle rap event before, and it was just going, what was that? It was just like, why did you all gang up on that poor boy? I was like, it's not normally like that. It's meant to be 1 against 1. It's not meant to be like 4 against Max Sherry. So you get your first out pretty much with a little bit of Mickey interruption, but the problem is that Matt chokes in the first, and Mickey, you know, he's in his troll phase, isn't he? Like I remember him being quite fucked up that day as well. Yeah, well, so from a neuroscience point of view, Mickey almost definitely has ADHD, right? And I think if you combine that with other stimulants, it's generally a terrible idea, and you get sort of hyper focused on something, for example the possibility of Max Sherry choking, and won't let it go, and so that's what happens. But yeah, as an opponent, I mean, I don't know what a lot of other people's kind of views are on this, but I actually find it really cringy if my opponent chokes. I really don't like it. Okay. I mean, for some leagues, it used to be the case that, you know, if you choke, that was pretty much it, unless you had really solid material. If you choked, it was your kind of stats in terms of whether or not you were going to win really drop. But I kind of don't like that as out of an opponent, because I want it to be my material versus their material, or my presence versus their presence. I don't want it to be like instantly possibly winning because they've just forgotten everything. That's, yeah, I find that really uncomfortable when I'm kind of facing somebody. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, remember your stuff. But then I found it aggravating, obviously, that he was being interrupted, because it was like, let's just get this battle done. This isn't funny anymore, guys. You're not letting him have a go. So yeah, I was pretty pissed off with Mickey, to be honest, about that. He did apologize to me afterwards, but yeah, I was like, that's not cool. You can't just go in on somebody like that. You've got to let them just finish their stuff, and then, you know, if they lose, that's on them, not because they've been interrupted half a dozen times.
Yeah, it pretty much ends with Bard escorting Mickey off the camera. Yeah. And I know, if I remember correctly, after the battle happened and there was all this hubbub, I remember Max Sherry walking over to the corner and like flipping a chair or something in anger.
Yeah, that was talked about for a bit. I think, he flipped over some furniture, which is, you know, fair enough. You got to get
it out somewhere, but it's people watch this battle. I think Ruin Your Day should do a little feature on it or something. I think it deserves a bit more publicity, because, I mean, did you ever want to battle Mac again properly, or?
I don't know, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that I wrote in that battle that didn't get used. I did put it up online at one point. I don't know if I've still got it up there, you know, just so that it was out there, because otherwise you feel like sort of mentally constipated when you spent all that time working on stuff and memorizing it, and then you don't get to let it out properly. But I feel like a lot of the angles that I've used have now been completely overused against him. I don't know, he's an interesting entity in battle rap. It's I don't know, but he's definitely, you know, he's definitely really honed his stuff over the years as well. So he might be quite interesting to go up against again, because you're kind of going up against Mac version 2.5. So yeah, I don't know. That's a possibility.
No, I love Max Sherry. I think he is just one of a kind sort of underdog character. Visceral bodied him as well a few months ago, which was crazy to see. But obviously it's Visceral. He's an incredible. Would you ever battle Visceral?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think he definitely be somebody that'd be. I mean, there's a lot of people I would definitely battle.
Who's on the list? Who's on the list?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the people on my list are kind of old school people that I think would be really fun to go up against. Now, I kind of need to spend some time kind of thinking about who's actually active, because I would have loved to have battled Enigma. I think he would have been so fun to battle.
That would have been a great debut for you on Don't Flop.
Yeah, and again, you know, Enigma is somebody I kind of, you know in a kind of friendly way, like, you know, as part of the scene, and I've kind of, you know, chatted to him over the years, and he's got. He's really good at writing about writing. You know, he's got really good. I don't know if you ever look on his blog where he talks about his insights into writing. So, he'd be really good opponent from kind of a number of angles. But you know, he seemed pretty determined to being retired. He's not one of those people that's gone, I've retired, and then 8 months later takes another battle. He seems pretty definite about it. And I also think Definition would be really fun to battle, just because he's one of the people I'd like to be like. You know, I'd like to be that battler, like him versus Pedro at I think it was the first Boom Bat Festival. I saw that live, because I went to the first Boom Bat, which only cost £30, doesn't anymore. Such sadness. But yeah, that was a really fun battle. I think Pedro would be really fun to battle.
Yes. Yeah, would love to see that. I mean, that will happen on Ronalds, surely. Like maybe at the last event or something.
Probably, yeah.
How do you feel about that as well, that it's kind of coming to an end? Ronalds, like, aren't they doing their final event this year, or maybe early next year or something? I think Mickey said it was only going to be like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how serious he is about that.
Sure.
I don't know, because in some ways it seems to be taking off more. So I think we'll have to see how this year goes. Like, if, you know, because there's a lot more people now that we've no longer got that kind of pariah, you know, you shall not go near the Ronalds because they defile the, you know, Rowans, whatever.
Mickey's battling on Code Red, their next event, so
yeah, exactly. So that seems to have expanded our fan base quite a bit, and you know, I don't know. I guess we'll have to probably see where we're at sort of later this year as to whether they still think they're going to wrap it up, or but I guess, a lot of things can change within the next few months, because we've got so many kind of big leagues making big moves, and there's new leagues doing things, and then there's going to be people probably combining their forces a bit as well. So yeah, just to see where it takes us.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're recording this sort of late February 2018, so anyone listening in the future, like 2018 looks to be one of the most exciting years ever in terms of UK battle rap. So
given what we've just seen over literally the last sort of 6 weeks or so, I think when I saw you, I told you I've been to 4 events in 4 weeks, including the one that I battled at, and that was 4 different leagues as well. So there was Code Red, Ronalds in Coventry,
Chalked Out Volume 3.
Premier in Match Day in Manchester, and then Chalked Out, and that was over 4 weeks. So yeah, I think there's going to be some pretty good stuff happening. So yeah. And
we wrap up with the Coventry event, King of the Ronalds, which, interesting event for many, many different reasons. I personally couldn't believe that Joy France was battling Blunt Ted. I used to live in Manchester and do a bit of spoken word myself, so I knew Joy France through that scene, and it was so cool to see that battle going down. And, maybe it didn't live up to all the expectations in terms of the crowd. I think it was certainly an entertaining battle, at least writing-wise. But you versus Loxy was another one of those battles that people are raving about this battle, and I think rightly so. I think you give a great performance, and Loxy, a very exciting prospect, right?
You know that life where you haven't been active for a bit, so you take any old shite? Well, I took this battle because Bowski told me that I was going to face Dirty Dot. And instead of facing a dirty... Nah, not even that.
Earlier it was, it's pretty joyful to kind of get another female battler who, you're kind of both coming at it from a similar perspective in some ways. So it's then a kind of a sort of challenge to see who can be the most disgusting about the other person's, stuff from a female point of view. But also the fact that, that's entertaining to a mostly male audience is great as well. Because I think, because I'm also a bit involved in comedy, and, that you get a lot of stuff about, people not finding women as funny or whatever. And, I think you can watch that battle and realise that that's definitely not true. We had a lot of distractions before that battle fully started as well, which I think it kind of lost a little bit of the momentum for me. Because you were there. Were you there for that one?
I wasn't there. No,
you weren't. No. Okay. There was a fight that pretty much broke out. We had to restart the third about 5 times. So kind of at that point it was just really, the 2 most chilled out people in the room are the people waiting to start their battle. But yeah, I suppose kind of typical Ronalds punk scene. But yeah, it's a different sort of energy, and it's always nice to get things from that kind of different perspective. And she's very kind of strong stage presence. She was really kind of getting in my face, getting into the camera. So yeah, I really hope she keeps that up with the next few people. I mean, I think she's got Mickey as one of her next battles. I think she's got Mickey and
Frost. I think
Frost. Yeah. So I think those will both be really good watch as well.
Hard sophomore opponents, definitely. Mickey says in the intro, it's the first ever Bird versus Bird battle. It is rowdy as hell. Bigger tits to see who goes first, which is it's certainly not the most PC thing to say in today's culture, but it's Mickey, so.
Yeah, but I think that is actually one of the things that you kind of like about battle rap, or at least I do, is because things can get kind of too sterile. To the point where nobody can say anything, and I think it's kind of fun as a woman to kind of be in an arena where people can just shout appalling stuff at each other, and the whole point of why it's fun is because it's something that you can't do elsewhere without being dragged into the human resources office or something.
And what are your thoughts on the battle overall?
It's interesting. I've been trying to get a bit of feedback from different people to sort of see kind of where else I can go next, because it's definitely the one where I focus most sort of technically on the writing. As I said, trying to get a bit more structured rather than just kind of doing what the hell I feel like it and sticking it together with battle glue. So yeah, I'm kind of I'm in the process of, I guess, because it's, you know, I have to plug stuff. I have to remember to plug things that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm in the process of doing an EP at the moment. I approached somebody about a year ago to be a mentor for me, and I didn't think they were going to get back to me at all. But you know, the whole thing about sort of taking a shot to see if anything lands. And the person that I approached was Padvan Mookie, aka Orifice Volgatron from Foreign Beggars. Right. And he said yes. So he is my like hip hop mentor. Awesome. I kind of spit a lot of my bars to him, and he kind of gives me a bit of an idea of how to kind of hone things, and you know, kind of really makes me step my game up, which is good, because I think, although I enjoy doing it, sometimes I think I can be a bit apathetic and kind of ride along a bit and just kind of get it done. Whereas if you've got somebody kind of reacting to your stuff, or using his teacher voice, which he has, I'm like, yep, no, you're right. I need to like move that syllable out, not just try and shove it in because I feel like it. So yeah, I think a lot of that kind of paid off, but I think there's still areas where I can kind of improve in terms of still being maybe a bit less abstract, or writing stuff that I think is hilarious but that nobody else understands.
Yeah, you can definitely feel a guiding hand, I think. It's interesting you say that. In the second especially, I think there's some clarity there. The whole Instagram looks like an infogram of what a basic bitch does when she's dumped by a man, that whole section. I love when you said that your batty is top notch with a spin, and you sort of do a little pirouette around. It gets a reaction. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, none of that is planned. I tend to kind of run a bit off just whatever I feel like doing when I'm performing. But I think, again, I was concentrating a lot more on my sort of physical performance, especially as I think that week I'd kind of rewatched a lot of Shotty's battles and stuff, and you know from kind of watching, you know, sort of premiere battle stuff, his stage presence is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So it's just trying to like channel my inner Shotty horror somehow. I mean, obviously my arse is way better than Shotty's, but you know, can't have everything Shotty.
You've got better hair than Shotty, I think. So.
Well, I've certainly got more hair than Shotty.
Yeah. And everyone, watch this battle, please. You know, if you haven't seen, I think you give a great performance, and I think Loxy is intriguing. You know, Mickey is overjoyed at the end. He says that she's the #1 contender. Forget Lazy and Flabs, you know.
Yeah, and I think again, like Mickey versus Loxy is going to be really good to watch. I think it's going to be up there with like him versus DK, not just because it's a male-female battle, but just because I think they're both going to have a lot of fun writing that. So it's going to be very entertaining for people to watch as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. When is that going down? Is that at the Reverse Live Hulk
Yeah,
one?
I think that
Fiddlers?
one is the. I've got a funny feeling it's the one that I can't make. Sorry, guys, because I'm going to be up in a mountain writing songs like nice. Weird sort of elf.
Is that like a creative retreat or?
Yeah, basically, it is. Pick a bunch of, it's like a professional songwriters thing, so they basically pick a bunch of people that do songwriting, which I do, and then stick us in a cabin up a mountain and sort of hope that we all come out alive and haven't killed each other with mic stands by the end of it. So I think that's the Few Good Men in Camden on Saturday the 28th of April.
There we go, yeah. And I think it's the first Fiddlers event for King of the Ronalds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, very cool that they're migrating there. And I mean, that's your most recent battle. That was just uploaded about a month ago at the time of us recording this. What is 2018 looking, or what are you planning? Are you planning to battle more regularly, or do a few, or? Yeah,
I mean, obviously it can be quite a time-consuming thing, and I've been working on other stuff like this EP for a good sort of 9 months or so now, but sometimes I find it's useful to kind of have different projects in parallel, because you kind of find you write bars for a battle and then you go, actually, these are great bars, but they don't really work in a sort of battle context. So maybe I'll put that, you know, in the sort of other stuff that I'm writing, and then you'll kind of write really vicious bars for a track that doesn't really need them. And then that can kind of go into a battle or something. Yeah, I mean, I've not got anything confirmed lined up yet battle wise. I'm kind of, you know, sort of nudging a few people to see what they think is best, because I'm a bit crap at kind of going, I definitely want this opponent, and kind of calling people out. I'm just kind of like, yeah, that would be fun, maybe I'll battle them, but yeah, I need to kind of get a bit more like, yes, give me this person, let me kill them now.
Yeah.
And then that probably get things done a bit quicker. But yeah, obviously, I'll plug the EP properly. Yeah, Seven Sentinels is what it's called, and Theo Kane, who you might also know as Psychosis Holocaust, is working on some artwork for me, which, even though he's only shown me the drafts, looks fucking amazing. Because it's sort of tech noir, mad villain, Victor Vaughan kind of stuff going on. So yeah.
And Seven Sentinels, what's the meaning behind that?
Seven Sentinels. Sentinels are kind of watchers,
well,
guardians.
They hunt mutants in the X-Men.
And hunt mutants in the X-Men, and also in biological terms, they appear when there's a disease, because you've got like Watcher cells. But I won't turn this into a virology broadcast for you. But that could be a weird crossover.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, there's 7 characters basically, so it's got a bit of a sort of superhero, supervillain kind of thing going on.
All right.
So yeah, I've kind of written stuff about a few different characters. So, yeah.
And we will wrap up, as we always do, with a few quick-fire questions.
Sure.
I normally ask favourite Don't Flop battle, but I should just ask, what is your favourite battle?
I can't pick just one. Don't make me do that. It used to be... there was one that Stowaway did versus Henry Bowers. That used to be one of my favourites. Yes. So yeah, let's go with that one, just because that hasn't been watched for a while, and people should go back and watch stuff like that. So yeah, go and watch Stowaway versus Henry Bowers. It's great.
What about your favourite King of the Dot battle?
Do you know what? I'm really crap at watching a lot of the American stuff because I feel like they take themselves too seriously, and yeah, I find that the humour's not quite the same. I keep meaning to get into it, and then I don't, and I watch more English battles. But now that they're kind of joining up with Chalked Out, I feel like I should probably give them another go. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, though, definitely. And so I'm guessing favourite URL battle is a no-go.
Yeah, again, same there. I mean, I used to watch a lot more of them when, as I said, the person who kind of got me into watching battles... the guy that I used to date, so we kind of watched stuff from all over the place, but that was about 6 years ago, so yeah, I can't remember any of the ones that I liked from back then, but I will give them a go again, I promise.
And final 2 questions, non-battle rap related. Firstly, what's your favourite film?
Probably Brazil.
Nice, good choice. Incredible film. Terry Gilliam, right?
Yeah.
And finally, your favourite musical artist or band that are in no way hip-hop related?
I don't know if they quite count as in no way hip-hop related, but The Prodigy.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Big drum and bass fan, but obviously there's a lot of crossover between drum and bass and MCs and stuff.
And how do people get at you? Your Twitter, Facebook, anything else you wanted to promo?
Yeah, so Twitter is at @Iam_bombshell. SoundCloud is, I got this up so I'd remember it, but soundcloud.com/bombshell_Molotov. I should also plug BRAP, because if you haven't heard of BRAP and you are either a producer or a rapper, what the fuck are you doing? Obviously, it's Pav is CEO of BRAP, but it's like a collaborative platform where if you're a producer, you can put up 60 seconds worth of beats. If you're a rapper, you can grab any of the beats on there, freestyle over them, rap over them. Yeah, if you're not on that and you spit or produce, what are you doing? Get BRAP.
All right. Well, this has been great. Please follow everything that Bombshell just mentioned. Please follow us as well at BRR. Get in touch with us if you want to come on the show. Leave us a review on iTunes, Patreon, all that good stuff. But Bombshell, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you. Thank you.